I bought those tickets 6 months ago, spent hours refreshing the page over and over, watching that little spinning circle and praying I'd get through before they sold out, because I knew if I didn't, I'd regret it. And now here I am, standing in our kitchen holding them in my hand while he's telling me we're not going, because his friends really need him this weekend. It's weird how something so small can feel like everything. Like one tiny change of plans can pull the floor out from under you, not because of what it is, but because of what it means. Because it's never just about the concert or the weekend or the tickets. It's about the pattern, the way it always seems to go. It was Friday morning, a little after 7, and the air was already heavy, that sticky kind of Charlotte heat even though it had rained during the night. And I was up before my alarm, half from excitement and half from habit, standing in the kitchen, still in my old sweatshirt with my hair tied up and thinking about how close I was to finally having a night just for me, something I'd been waiting for since winter. I pulled the envelope from the drawer by the fridge, the one we stuff with old receipts and takeout menus, and the paper felt almost too clean, like I hadn't even earned it yet. And I laid the tickets on the counter next to his coffee mug, hoping he'd see them before I had to say anything, because sometimes I just wanted him to remember things without me reminding him. When he walked in, rubbing his eyes and scrolling through his phone like always, I felt that little jolt of hope that maybe today he'd look up and smile. Maybe he'd be excited too. And I poured his coffee and said, "Guess what's tomorrow?" Trying to sound light like it wasn't a big deal even though it was. He looked up just a little, just enough to notice the tickets, but not enough to actually read them, and he gave me that half smile that's more habit than feeling, like his mouth just knew the shape without the reason. "What?" I nudged the tickets closer, careful not to sound too eager because I've learned that too much energy just makes him pull back, and I said, "The concert, remember? I finally got us those tickets. It's tomorrow night." There was a pause, just long enough for me to believe he'd forgotten, and then his face shifted just a flicker, and he leaned back against the counter, still holding his phone, and said, "Yeah, so Kyle texted last night, and the guys are planning to head to Asheville this weekend, like tonight through Sunday. They've been trying to get everyone together for weeks, and it's kind of important, you know?" I stared at him, not really hearing the rest because I already knew where it was going, and I set down my cup, fingers tight around the handle, and asked, "What about the concert?" He shrugged like it was nothing, like I'd just asked about a movie we could catch some other time, and said, "You can sell the tickets, right? Or get a refund or something? It's not like it's a huge deal." Not a huge deal. The words just hung there between us, louder than they should have been, and I tried to breathe, to keep my face neutral. But inside I felt that sharp pull, the one that happens when you realize someone isn't even trying to understand you, when you're just background noise to whatever they've already decided. I didn't say anything right away because what was the point? And he went back to his phone like we'd finished the conversation, like I was just supposed to nod and move on. So I grabbed my bag and my keys, the tickets still on the counter, and walked out into the morning air that smelled like wet pavement and old leaves. The rain had stopped, but everything was damp, the sky still heavy with it, and I didn't bother with an umbrella because I didn't care if I got wet, didn't care if my hair frizzed or my shoes soaked through. I just needed to walk, to move, to get away from the walls that suddenly felt too close. The office was only 10 minutes away, past the bakery that always smells like cinnamon even when it's closed, and I went straight to my desk, trying not to think about anything except the screen in front of me. But it was useless because every line on that spreadsheet just blurred into the same question. Why does it always have to be me who lets things go? Jen showed up around 9, late as usual, dropping her bag with a sigh and peeling off her rain jacket, and she glanced at me like she could already tell something was off, which wasn't hard since I wasn't even pretending to work. "You okay?" she asked, unwrapping the granola bar she eats every morning but never finishes. "Yeah," I said, too fast, too flat, and she raised an eyebrow but didn't push, just sat down and started typing. And I was glad because I didn't want to talk about it. Not yet. By noon, I'd barely gotten through a single report, my phone buzzing on and off with notifications I didn't want to see. And when I finally looked, there it was. A message from Trevor. "Decided what to do with the tickets yet? Need to book Asheville." I didn't answer, just stared at the words like maybe they'd change if I looked long enough. Then put my phone in the drawer and shut it, the click of it sounding louder than I expected in the quiet of the office. At lunch, Jen sat on the edge of my desk, picking at her sandwich, and asked again, "You sure you're okay?" I paused, then said, "Trevor's bailing on the concert." She didn't even look surprised, just sighed and said, "Again?" And I nodded because, yeah, again, and we didn't have to say more because she already knew the story. When I got home later, the sky still looked like it wanted to rain but didn't, and the apartment felt too still, too empty, like it was waiting for something. And I sat at the kitchen table with the tickets in front of me, staring at them like they might tell me what to do. And for the first time, I really thought, maybe I don't need him to go. Maybe I could just go alone, or with someone else, or just go. It's weird how some conversations don't even feel like real conversations, more like you're just tossing words into a void, hoping something sticks, hoping maybe this time they'll hear you, really hear you. But instead, you get that same dismissive wave, like you're a commercial break between things that actually matter. That's exactly how it felt Saturday morning, standing in the kitchen again, trying one more time to explain something that should have been obvious by now, something I shouldn't even have to say. I didn't want to fight, didn't want to start another pointless back and forth, so I tried to keep it light. Like, maybe if I didn't push too hard, he'd actually think about it. I don't like always being the one who changes plans, I said, leaning on the counter, watching him scroll through his phone again, the same way he always does when he doesn't want to deal with something. He didn't even look up, just shrugged like I'd asked him to take out the trash or pick a movie. "It's just a concert, Lauren, not the end of the world." That was it. No apology, no effort, just that same flat tone like I was making a big deal out of nothing. I wanted to say more, wanted to tell him how tired I was of feeling like an afterthought, but I didn't, because I already knew where it would go. Later that night, he was on the couch with his laptop, headphones on, watching some dumb show with his friends on Discord, laughing at something I couldn't hear. And he called out, "Come watch with us," like everything was fine, like I hadn't spent the whole day thinking about how easy it was for him to cancel on me. I said I was tired, which wasn't a lie. Not really. But it wasn't about sleep. He just rolled his eyes, the way he does when he thinks I'm being difficult for no reason, and went back to his screen without another word. The next morning, the sky was clearer, but the air still felt heavy, and I walked to Harris Teeter because we were out of milk, and honestly, I just needed to get out of the apartment for a while. The streets were quiet, that slow weekend kind of quiet, and as I turned the corner by the old bookstore, I saw it. A poster for the concert taped to the window, bright colors and bold letters like it was reminding me what I was supposed to be doing tonight. It used to be our thing, going to shows together, even if he didn't always love the same music, even if he made fun of me for knowing all the lyrics. It still felt like something we shared, or at least I thought it did. I stood there for a minute, just looking at it, and my phone buzzed in my pocket. "Jen, you still thinking about going? I'm free tonight if you want." I stared at her message, thumbs hovering, and typed, "I'm thinking about it," which was true, even though in my head all I could hear was Trevor getting mad if I went without him, saying I was being petty or dramatic, or whatever else he calls it when I do something for myself. When I got back, he was packing, tossing clothes into his old duffel like it was just another day, not bothering to ask if I was coming, just assuming I'd stay, like always. "You coming or not?" he asked, zipping the bag halfway, not even looking at me. I stood by the door, still holding the grocery bag, and said, "I don't want to go to Asheville. I want to go to the concert." He frowned, that same confused look like I'd said something in another language. "Why? What's the point? It's just a show." "It's not just a show to me," I said, but I could already see he didn't care. He shook his head, muttering something under his breath, and went back to packing. And I just stood there, the air between us thick and still, waiting for him to say something. Anything. But he didn't. He left a few minutes later, didn't even say goodbye. Just closed the door behind him, and I sat on the couch, staring at nothing, wondering how it got to this point. A little while later, Jen texted again. "I'm serious. I've got nothing tonight. Let's go." I looked over at the tickets, still on the table, and felt that pull in my chest, that mix of fear and anger and something else I couldn't quite name. If I don't go, I'll hate myself for it. Sometimes you don't need a big moment. You don't need some grand epiphany. Sometimes you just decide, Quietly but fully, that you're done waiting for permission to live your own life. That's how it felt. Sitting on the couch with the ticket still in front of me, the apartment so still I could hear the hum of the fridge and thinking, what am I even afraid of? I picked up my phone, fingers already moving before I could talk myself out of it, and texted Jen, "Let's go." She replied almost right away, like she knew I was on the edge and didn't want me to fall back. "Okay, meet you at the metro at 6. I stood up, heart racing but steady, and walked to the bedroom, not thinking, just moving. I pulled out my favorite jean jacket, the one with the frayed cuffs and the patch on the back that Trevor always said looked too much, and put it on like armor. I grabbed those silver hoop earrings I hadn't worn in months, the ones he said were too big, and I put them in anyway, feeling a little more like myself with every small thing. By the time I left, the sun was low, casting that golden light across the street, the kind that makes everything look softer, warmer even when it's hot. The air was thick, not just with heat, but with something else, something I couldn't name. Fear, maybe, or maybe just freedom in disguise. I walked fast, not because I was late, but because I didn't want to give myself time to think, and when I got to the metro station, Jen was already there, leaning against the railing with 2 iced coffees in hand. She saw me and smiled wide, the kind of smile that doesn't ask questions, just says, "I'm here." "You look good," she said, handing me one of the coffees. I laughed, a little too loud maybe, but it felt good. "I feel weird." "Weird's a start," she said, and we both laughed again, the kind of laugh you don't plan, the kind that shakes something loose. The train was packed, loud, filled with people heading somewhere, anywhere, and for once I didn't mind the noise, didn't mind the way strangers brushed past me, because I wasn't thinking about what I was leaving behind, just about where I was going. The concert hall was already buzzing when we got there, the low thrum of bass vibrating through the floor, people everywhere, talking, moving, alive. We found a spot near the middle, not too close, not too far, just enough to feel it all without getting lost. And when the lights went down and the music started, something in me just let go. For the first time in months, maybe longer, I wasn't thinking about Trevor, or about what I should be doing or what I was supposed to want. I was just there, singing, moving, breathing, like I'd woken up inside my own skin. Halfway through, the lead singer paused, wiped his face with his shirt, and leaned into the mic. "This one's for anyone who's tired of being quiet." And I almost cried, not because of the words exactly, but because it felt like he saw me, like the whole room saw me, and it didn't scare me the way it used to. Jen grabbed my hand, laughing, and I laughed too, and when she pulled me to the merch table later, insisting we both needed shirts, I didn't say no. We picked the same one, black with bold white letters, and I slipped mine on over my tank top right there in the hallway. "This is the best night I've had in, like, forever," I said, still breathless, still glowing. "See?" she said. "Told you." We ended up in a bar down the street after, one of those places with sticky tables and bad lighting, but it didn't matter. We sat there with cheap drinks, replaying the show, talking about everything and nothing, and for once I wasn't checking the time, wasn't wondering what he'd say. Until my phone buzzed. I didn't even need to look to know it was him. I turned the screen over, but the preview was already there. "Are you serious? You actually went?" I stared at it for a second, then set the phone face down and left it there. "I don't want to deal with this right now," I said. Jen nodded, didn't push, just sipped her drink. Walking home later, the streets quieter, the heat finally fading, I felt lighter. Like something had shifted. Like I could finally breathe without asking permission. It's been 2 days since the concert, and I still haven't answered him. Not his calls, not his texts, not even that voicemail he left last night. The one where he said we really need to talk, like I'd just wandered off without a reason. Like this was all some misunderstanding we could clear up if I'd just pick up the phone. But I didn't. I couldn't. I've been staying out as much as possible, spending time at Jen's, walking aimlessly through parts of Charlotte I barely knew, sitting in cafes, not really tasting anything, just trying to figure out what's next, or if I even need to know right now. I wasn't ready to go home. Not really. But I had to eventually. There were still things there. Still pieces of my life I hadn't figured out what to do with. When I opened the door, I knew something was off before I even saw him. His bag was in the hallway, half zipped, his shoes tossed like he didn't care, and the living room looked like it hadn't moved since Friday. He was on the couch, arms crossed, staring at the wall like it might answer for me. "Really?" he said, not getting up. "You've been ignoring me for 2 days." I didn't say anything, just put down my keys, not sure if I should even take off my shoes. He looked tired, not like he hadn't slept, but like he was trying too hard to be mad. "You should have been with me," he said, eyes sharp now. "Not with Jen." Still, I said nothing, because what was the point? He wasn't listening. He was just talking. Like if he said it enough, I'd believe it. His voice rose, not loud, but sharper. "If you want to be alone, fine. Do whatever you want. Just don't come crying later." That's when I finally looked at him. Really looked. And something in me snapped. Not loud, not messy. Just done. "I'm not your thing, Trevor. I don't belong to you. You don't get to tell me where I should have been." He stood up then, like he was going to say something else. Maybe something worse, but he didn't. He just grabbed his bag, didn't even bother to check if he'd left anything, and walked out. The door slammed, but he left the key on the table. For the first time, he didn't try to make me change my mind. I sat down, not because I was tired, but because I needed to feel the stillness. After a while, I called Jen, told her what happened, that he left, that I didn't know what to do with all of it. "Maybe that's not the worst thing," she said. "Maybe now you can just be." Later, I went for a walk. The air had cooled down. That soft southern night kind of cool, where it's still warm under your skin, but the breeze feels like a break. I didn't have anywhere to go. Didn't care where I ended up. I just walked, past the little shops and the houses with porch lights glowing, listening to the sound of my own steps. My phone buzzed. A notification from the concert hall. Photos from Saturday night are now available. I almost didn't open it, but something pulled me in. There I was, in the middle of the crowd, lights behind me, arms up, smiling. I saved it, set it as my lock screen without thinking, and stared at it for a long time. I don't know what happens next. Not really. But I know one thing. I'm not going back. There's a strange kind of silence that doesn't feel like peace. More like something unfinished. Like when you leave a room but forget why you went there in the first place, and you just stand still, waiting for your mind to catch up with your body. Except nothing comes. It had been 3 days since he left, and at first, the quiet felt like a break. Like a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. But the longer it stretched, the more it felt like a space I didn't know how to fill. Like something was missing, even if I wasn't sure I wanted it back. He hadn't written, hadn't called, hadn't tried to twist my thoughts around with the usual lines about how we could fix it if I just stopped overreacting. And in a way, I was almost grateful. Because at least I didn't have to fight the part of me that always wanted to believe him. The part that still thought maybe this was normal. Maybe this was just what people did. But then, just when I was starting to settle into the idea that maybe it really was over, that maybe he had finally let go, my phone lit up with a message I didn't expect and didn't want. Melissa's name on the screen already made my stomach turn, not because we were close, but because she was the kind of person who always knew things she shouldn't, always watching from the edges, never really involved, but always ready to stir the water when it looked too still. I opened the message and it was just one line, nothing more, but enough to pull the ground from under me. "Did you know Trevor didn't just go with Kyle to Asheville?" That was it. No explanation, no context, just those words hanging in the air like smoke, making it hard to breathe. My fingers hovered over the screen, not sure if I wanted to know more, not sure if I could handle it. But I typed anyway, because not knowing suddenly felt worse than anything she could say. "What do you mean?" I waited, staring at the screen like it might blink back at me, but nothing came. No reply, no dots, just silence. I didn't think, didn't sit with it, just called Jen because if anyone would tell me the truth, it would be her. She picked up after the second ring, her voice quieter than usual, and I could tell before she even spoke that she knew something, that she had been holding it in, waiting for the right time, or maybe just hoping I wouldn't ask. "Come meet me," she said, and that was all I needed. The walk to the cafe felt longer than it should have, every step heavier, the sun too sharp against the pavement. And when I pushed open the door, the cool air inside didn't help, didn't make it easier, because I already felt it. The shift, the break, the thing I didn't want to face. Jen was sitting at our usual table by the window, her hands wrapped around a cup she hadn't touched. And when she looked up at me, I saw it in her eyes before she spoke. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, she started, and her voice was careful, like she was walking on glass. But I saw a photo. My stomach dropped, and I sat down, not trusting my legs to hold me. A photo? I asked, though I already knew I didn't want to hear the answer. Yeah, she nodded, eyes flickering away. He was with Emily. It took me a second to breathe, to understand what she was saying, because the name hit harder than I thought it would. Not just because of who she was, but because of what it meant. Because Emily wasn't just anyone. She was the one. The girl he swore he didn't talk to anymore. The past he said was over. The story he told me so many times that I almost believed it. I didn't say anything, just sat there. The noise of the cafe fading into a dull hum, and Jen reached across the table, but I couldn't move. Couldn't feel anything but the heat in my chest, the tightness in my throat, the way everything started to blur at the edges. I thought you should know, she said, and I nodded, not because I agreed, but because I didn't know what else to do. When I got home, I didn't take off my shoes, didn't turn on the lights, just sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, scrolling through old messages, old photos, trying to find the pieces I missed, the signs I ignored. It wasn't just this trip. There were others. Times he left. Times he needed space. And every time I stayed, I waited. I believed. I stood up, walked to the mirror, and really looked at the girl staring back at me. The one who had given up more than she realized. The one who had bent so far she didn't know where she started anymore. What was I even holding on to? I didn't think, didn't second guess, just typed. Come get your things. No need to explain. I hit send, turned off the phone, and sat back down. The silence this time not empty, but full. Full of the weight I'd been carrying. Full of the things I was finally letting go. Jen called later, her voice softer now, not asking, just offering. I'm going to Charleston for the weekend. My aunt has a place by the water. Come with me. I didn't pause. Didn't need to think. Yes, I said. I need to breathe. I packed slowly, carefully, not because I needed much, but because I wanted to choose what came with me, what stayed. Before I zipped the bag, I pulled out the concert t-shirt, the one that still smelled like sweat and music and something real, and I folded it on top. Because that night was mine, and I was taking it with me. There's something about the air in Charleston that feels different. Like it's thicker but softer. Like the salt and the sun have this way of getting under your skin, loosening the things you didn't know you were holding on to. We got here just before noon, and the moment I stepped out of the car, I felt it. That shift, that pull. Like my body finally realized it didn't have to be so tense anymore. The breeze came in off the water, warm but easy. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I could actually breathe without thinking about what I was supposed to do next. Jen's aunt lives in this small, pale blue house not far from the beach, with creaky wooden steps and windows that let in too much light, the kind that makes everything look softer, even your own reflection. We dropped our bags by the door, kicked off our shoes, and it didn't take long before we were sitting around her kitchen table, the three of us laughing at nothing in particular, just the kind of light, easy laughter that doesn't need a reason. I hadn't looked at my phone since we left Charlotte. Hadn't felt the urge, and honestly, it was the first time in forever that I didn't care if someone was trying to reach me. Later, after we walked down to the beach, toes in the sand, hair sticking to the back of our necks from the heat, I sat by the water with my journal, the one I never actually write in, and just let the waves drown out the noise in my head. I wrote one line. Nothing fancy, nothing deep, just something I needed to see in my own handwriting. Don't lose yourself for someone else's plans. The sun was starting to dip, painting everything gold, and we headed back, the kind of tired that feels good, like you've actually used your body for something simple and real. When we got inside, I checked my email for the first time all day, more out of habit than anything. And there it was. A message from my manager. They wanted me on a new project. Something big. Something I'd always said I wasn't ready for. But now I didn't feel that panic. Didn't feel the need to doubt if I could handle it. I just sat there, reading the details, thinking, why not? While I was still at the table, my phone buzzed again, and before I even looked, I knew. It was him. I messed up. I'm sorry. That was all he wrote. No excuses, no explanations, just those words, like they could erase everything. Like they were supposed to mean something now. I stared at the screen, felt the flicker of something, but it didn't burn like it used to. Didn't hurt in that sharp, twisting way. I didn't answer. I opened the contacts, scrolled to his name, and deleted it. Slow but steady. And then I went through the photos. All of them. Everyone with his face, his hand, his shadow. And I erased those too. The room didn't spin. My chest didn't tighten. My hands didn't shake. I just let it go, and it stayed gone. Jen came in from the porch holding 2 glasses of something cold and sat down across from me. She looked at me like she was waiting to see if I was okay, if I was really here. You need a new start? She asked, her voice low, not pushing, just offering. I didn't answer right away, just looked around, at the soft light in the room, at the open door, at the way the air felt on my skin. Maybe, I said. For the first time, I'm not scared of that. That night, I sat on the front steps, the wood warm under me, the wind pulling at my hair, and I didn't feel restless or unsure. Didn't feel like I was running out of time or options. I felt still, not stuck, just present. I thought about all the things I'd done just to make someone else comfortable, all the times I'd shrunk myself to fit. And I knew I wasn't going back to that. I closed my eyes, listening to the waves somewhere beyond the houses, steady and soft, and I didn't feel like a stranger in my own life anymore. I didn't feel like a stranger in my own skin.